You know those toy steering wheels they put in the back of some minivans or like on those little arcade rides outside the grocery
Oh,
store?
yeah, the cheap plastic
Yeah,
one.
as a kid, you grip that plastic wheel, you yank it left, you yank it right, and you feel, absolutely 100% in control of where the car is going.
Right, you lean into the turns, you feel like the master of your own destiny.
Right up until you grow up a little bit and realize, wait, the wheel wasn't connected to anything.
You were just along for the ride the whole time?
The car was driving itself, and you were just, playing a game of pretend. Welcome to today's deep dive into a piece called The Invisible Strings: Human Autonomy in the Age of AI.
It's a great analogy because, well, illusion of control is very comforting when you're 5 years old.
Right, but it is significantly less comforting when you realize that in the digital age, you are still sitting behind a plastic steering wheel.
Yeah. The thing actually driving us, like the thing steering our attention and shaping our worldview, is this vast, invisible network of algorithms.
And just so we're clear right up front, we are skipping the usual, broad historical overview of what AI actually is today.
No boring definitions today.
Exactly. We aren't going to waste time on that. We are plunging straight into the dark side, how AI is already pulling the invisible strings in your everyday life, actively influencing your choices, your purchases, and even your emotions.
Because it's happening right now. It's
Eh,
not a future problem.
no, not at all. Let's look at an everyday action you probably did just a few hours ago, scrolling on your phone.
Oh, yeah, we all do it.
You open an app, you watch one short video, it's mildly entertaining, so your thumb physically swipes up. You watch another, then another.
And then you blink, you look at the clock, and an entire hour has just vanished.
Right. And if someone asks what you were doing, you'd say you were choosing to watch videos.
Right.
Your perception is pure agency because your thumb is doing the physical swiping.
But that physical action just creates the illusion of choice. The sheer amount of data processing happening in the millisecond between your swipes, it tells a completely different story.
Wait, down to the millisecond.
Oh, absolutely. The algorithm is not passively waiting for your command. It is actively studying your attention span down to the fraction of a second.
Oh.
Like it notes that you hover over a cooking video for 1.2 seconds longer than a travel video.
So it's tracking everything.
Everything. It registers the time of day, your geographical location, even the battery life of your device to gauge your potential stress levels.
Battery life.
Yeah.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah, it compiles this massive multidimensional vector space of your habits. And then it serves up exactly the sequence of content that will keep you glued to that screen for the maximum possible duration.
That feels so much like a close-up magician performing a card trick.
Oh, how so?
Well, they fan out the deck and tell you to pick a card, any card, and you feel completely in control of the card you pull.
Right? You think it's your choice.
But the magician engineered the entire trick. The slight bend in the card they want you to take, the pacing of their speech, the angle of the deck.
They designed the environment so you would inevitably pick exactly what they wanted.
Exactly. The choice was an illusion engineered by someone who understands human psychology way better than the person picking the card.
That is a perfect way to look at it. The magician forces the card while making you feel like you chose it. The recommendation engine forces the content while making you feel like you curated it.
Which is funny because when you look at the defense mounted by major platforms, Netflix, YouTube, TikTok, they consistently claim they're merely offering a personalized experience.
Right, they position the algorithm as this highly attentive butler, simply bringing you the entertainment you already desire.
But I want to unpack that defense because a butler reacting to my desires is one thing. But at what point does the convenience of Netflix knowing I want to watch a comedy tonight cross the boundary into actual manipulation of my mood?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right. If an algorithm can accurately predict my emotional state based on a sequence of interactions and then feeds me content to alter that state, it has moved far beyond simple personalization.
Well, personalization is a system reacting to your intent. Manipulation is a system shaping your intent.
Shaping it. Yeah.
And we see this threshold cross the moment predictive models transition into behavioral engineering.
Which means what exactly?
Well, an algorithm might learn that feeding you 3 videos of political outrage followed by one palate cleansing video of a golden retriever maximizes your total session time.
Oh, wow. So it's balancing the stress.
Exactly. At that point, it is no longer just guessing what you want to watch. It is chemically engineering your emotional state, literally managing your dopamine and cortisol levels to extract the maximum amount of your attention.
Which means we really have to understand the mechanics of how it maps those emotions in the first place. We tend to talk about AI as this incredibly complex, magical code, but its real power is its profound grasp of human psychology.
It operates as a psychology engine. That's what it is.
Right. And we all know algorithms track what we double tap or what we actively share. But mapping something like fear is entirely different. I mean, invisible lines of code don't have feelings.
No, they don't.
Math doesn't know what it feels like to be afraid or anxious. So how exactly does a data processing model identify and weaponize our fears just to keep our eyeballs on the screen?
So you're right. Code doesn't experience fear, but it is highly adept at measuring the biological proxies of fear.
Biological proxies like what?
Well, fear, anxiety, outrage, these are highly activating neurological states. When human beings are anxious or threatened, our biological imperative is to gather more information to assess the threat.
Which is basically doom scrolling, right?
Exactly. We call the modern manifestation of this doom scrolling. The algorithm doesn't possess a conceptual understanding of existential dread.
Right, it doesn't know I'm worried about the economy.
But what the algorithm registers is an anomaly in your baseline behavior. It calculates that when presented with content about an impending economic crisis, your scroll speed decreases by 40%.
Wow.
You stop for 4.5 seconds instead of your usual 2.1 seconds. You expand the caption. You scroll down into the comment section, dwelling there as your device tracks the micro movements of your screen.
So it's literally reading the physical symptoms of my psychological state. It maps my hesitation and my dwell time to build this psychological profile.
Yeah, and then it maps those variables against millions of other users exhibiting the exact same biometric patterns.
So it knows what works on people like me.
Right. It identifies a cluster of behaviors correlated with high engagement. Over time, the model learns that triggering your anxieties keeps you in the app significantly longer than showing you content related to your hobbies.
Because if I'm content, I'll just put the phone down.
Exactly. Contentment leads to logging off. Anxiety requires constant monitoring.
Man, so the algorithm learns to manufacture a personalized crisis for you every time you unlock your phone.
Yes, because attention equals money.
And it's doing this because we've moved far beyond the basic model of just selling your screen time to advertisers. We are in the business of predictive behavioral modification.
That's a very accurate way to put it.
Because advertisers aren't just paying for you to see a product anymore. They are paying for the guarantee that you are in the exact, pliable emotional state required to make a purchase when that product flashes on your screen.
Right. The commodity being traded isn't just your attention, it's the predictability of your future behavior.
Wow.
By keeping you in a specific emotional loop, the algorithm ensures you react in highly predictable ways. But to do that, this requires constant, escalating emotional stimuli.
And if the goal is maximum emotional reaction to ensure predictable behavior, the system will optimize for whatever tool works best to trigger that reaction.
Even if it means making things up.
Which brings us to the extreme mechanisms AI uses to accomplish this, even if it requires completely abandoning reality. We have to talk about deepfakes.
Oh, absolutely. The technology generating synthetic media has crossed a threshold that human biology is simply not equipped to handle.
Yeah, we aren't talking about blurry face swaps or glitchy audio edits anymore. We are talking about generative adversarial networks, or GANs.
The mechanism here is both fascinating and terrifying.
It really is. Because you basically have two AI systems fighting each other, right? One is the generator, constantly creating fake images or audio.
Right.
And the other is the discriminator, which analyzes the fakes and tries to spot the flaws, and they just go back and forth millions of times.
Millions of times, yeah.
Yeah.
The generator keeps learning from the discriminator's feedback until it produces a fake so perfect that the discriminator, which remember is a highly advanced AI itself, it can no longer tell the difference between the synthetic file and reality.
And if the AI can't tell, we definitely can.
Exactly. The resulting media bypasses human perception entirely. It maps and replicates the microscopic facial tics, the subaudible breathing patterns, and the exact vocal foams of a specific human being.
So you can no longer just look closely and spot the pixels or listen for a robotic cadence.
No, it's beyond that. The machine renders reality at a higher fidelity than our biological senses can even deconstruct.
It's like a counterfeiter who doesn't just draw a really good fake $100 bill. It's a counterfeiter who has somehow acquired the exact printing press, the proprietary ink, and the specialized paper from the federal mint.
That is exactly what it is. It's not a distortion of reality. It is a perfect, unauthorized replica of reality.
And the societal implications of perfect replicas have to be catastrophic for a shared reality. I mean, a functioning society requires a baseline agreement on objective facts.
Right. If you and I witness a political speech or a news event, we might debate the meaning of the event.
But historically, we agreed the event physically occurred.
Exactly. But we are entering an environment where that baseline is completely shattered.
Because if one person believes the high-definition video evidence is real and the other believes it is a Jan-generated deepfake,
The foundation for debate collapses entirely. You cannot hold institutions accountable if you cannot agree on what actually happened.
this forces the average person into an era of zero-trust reality. And the thing is, for millions of years of human evolution, seeing was believing.
It's our primary survival mechanism.
Right. If we saw a threat with our own eyes, we trusted that visual data implicitly. Skepticism was reserved for, like, rumors or secondhand stories, but now...
Now we have to consciously override our own biological hardwiring.
Which is so hard to do. If our brains are hardwired to believe our own eyes and ears, how are we supposed to navigate a digital world where seeing is no longer believing?
Well, it's exhausting. You have to look at a perfectly clear video and actively tell your brain not to trust its own optical processing. You have to hunt for cryptographic watermarks, trace the origin of the file, cross-reference the context.
And then the cognitive tax of verifying basic reality like that becomes astronomical. It requires an active, exhausting level of critical analysis just to digest the daily news.
And human beings are not built to sustain that level of cognitive friction indefinitely.
No, we aren't. And that cognitive exhaustion is exactly what leads to the real danger. When human brains get exhausted, they look for shortcuts. We stop verifying, we stop analyzing.
We just surrender to it.
Which brings into focus the entity actually holding the remote control, because the immediate visceral reaction to deepfakes and algorithmic manipulation is to fear the code itself, right? To view the machine as a monster.
Right. But the machine is just executing instructions.
So the true threat lies in the human intentions driving the tool.
Exactly. The technology amplifies existing human flaws at an unprecedented scale. The algorithm does not inherently desire to destroy objective truth.
It's just lines of math.
Right. A human actor with a specific political, financial, or ideological agenda utilizes the AI to dismantle truth because it is the most efficient mechanism available for mass manipulation.
But I want to push back on that idea for a second. The idea that AI is just a neutral tool, like amplifying human intent.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if this technology is actively shaping our emotions, predicting our behavior, and eroding our ability to perceive reality, comparing it to a standard tool feels incredibly inadequate.
You're saying it's more than a tool.
Yeah. If I pick up a hammer, the hammer doesn't analyze my swing, subtly adjust its own weight, and slowly convince me over time to smash windows instead of building a house. AI feels fundamentally different. Doesn't it feel more like a tool that is actively shaping the hand that holds it?
That's a really good point. The distinction between passive and active tools is critical here.
Right, because a hammer is passive.
A hammer requires human energy and direction for every single strike.
Mm.
AI, on the other hand, operates with autonomous execution.
So it's doing the work for us.
Exactly. A human sets the initial parameters, for example, maximize user engagement on this platform. But the AI autonomously figures out how to achieve that goal.
And it might figure out things the human never even thought of.
Well, it constantly does. It runs millions of A/B tests in real time. It discovers that outrage works best, and it optimizes for outrage without any human engineer explicitly telling it to do so.
So the intent originates with a human, but the execution adapts, evolves, and operates entirely on its own logic.
Precisely. And because it operates so smoothly and effectively, it leads us straight into cognitive surrender.
Cognitive surrender, that is the cascading effect of outsourcing our mental processing, isn't it?
It is. If you rely on an algorithm to curate your news, to generate your emails, to summarize complex articles, and to tell you what products to buy, your own critical thinking begins to atrophy.
It's like a muscle that wastes away from disuse. Think about what happened when we all got GPS on our phones.
Oh, the deterioration of spatial awareness, absolutely.
We used to build these complex mental maps of our environments. You had to understand cardinal directions, know how different neighborhoods connected, recognize physical
You
landmarks.
had to actually pay attention to the world.
You had to actively process your surroundings. Now you just type a destination into your phone and blindly follow a blue line.
And if the app crashes halfway through the trip,
You have absolutely no idea where you are. Our natural sense of direction has been entirely outsourced to the machine.
and that spatial GPS analogy maps perfectly onto our intellectual and moral navigation. When you use AI as an intellectual GPS, you aren't just losing your sense of physical direction, you are losing your ability to navigate complex ideas.
Right. You lose the friction required to form an opinion. Weighing conflicting evidence, struggling to understand a difficult concept, debating the nuances of a moral gray area, that friction is how humans build intellectual resilience.
Yes.
If you remove the friction and just let the algorithm hand you a perfectly synthesized conclusion, you lose the ability to think critically. You just follow the blue line of thought laid out for you.
And a population that has outsourced its critical thinking is incredibly vulnerable. When a society loses the intellectual muscle to digest reality for themselves, they become entirely dependent on the systems curating their reality.
And whoever controls those parameters holds all the power.
Whoever controls the parameters of those algorithms holds absolute power over the population. And this control isn't established through authoritarian force or violence. It is established through sheer convenience.
Wow.
The cage isn't made of iron bars. It's made of frictionless user experiences and personalized recommendations. People walk in willingly because it's just so comfortable.
We willingly walk into the cage of convenience. That perfectly encapsulates the trajectory we are on. And the models are only going to get faster, the synthetic media is going to get more indistinguishable from reality, and the predictive algorithms will become exponentially more precise.
Right. There is no reversing the technological advancement. The infrastructure is already deeply embedded.
So what do we do?
Well, the solution cannot be retreating from the digital world or operating in a state of constant panic. The defense mechanism against cognitive surrender is hyper-awareness.
Meaning you have to understand the mechanics pulling the invisible strings. You have to actively recognize when an interface is trying to induce anxiety just to keep you scrolling. You have to interrogate your own digital habits and tolerate the cognitive friction of questioning the media you consume.
It is an ongoing arms race between artificial intelligence and human cognitive resilience.
Right. Because the stronger the technology gets at predicting and steering human behavior, the stronger and more deliberate human consciousness needs to be to counter it.
The future belongs to those who maintain the capacity to use the technology as an instrument rather than becoming the instrument themselves.
I love that. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder, building directly on this idea of cognitive surrender. We've discussed the danger of letting algorithms make small decisions, curating our feeds, drafting our messages, navigating our commutes.
The daily stuff, yeah.
But imagine a near future where these predictive models become so vastly sophisticated that they genuinely make better, more statistically optimized choices for you than you can make for yourself.
It's coming faster than we think.
Imagine an AI that analyzes your entire psychological profile, your genetic predispositions, and millions of market data points to select the absolute perfect career path for you.
Or choosing your life partner.
Exactly. Imagine an algorithm that cross-references deep psychological compatibility metrics to choose your ideal partner, guaranteeing a statistically lower chance of divorce and conflict. It dictates your diet for optimal longevity, it structures your daily routine for peak productivity, and it manages your finances with flawless mathematical precision.
It's a frictionless life.
Right. But if that day arrives and the data proves the machine is right, will you willingly trade away your messy, error-prone, irrational free will just to have a perfectly optimized life?
That's the real question.
And if you hand over your right to make mistakes, your right to choose poorly, and your right to struggle through the friction of your own decisions, are you still the one actually living your life? Or are you just sitting in the backseat holding a plastic steering wheel pretending you're the one driving? Keep your hands on the real wheel, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.